Hi there. I'm going to be ranking every Halo multiplayer from worst to best, at least in my opinion. One thing I should clarify is that I'm not counting co-op campaign, firefight, Spartan Ops, or anything like that. I'm talking about the main multiplayer. That may sound obvious, but I bet some twerp is going to say I missed them if I don't clarify this. Anyway, I really like Halo's multiplayer, even if many of them are flawed. I've been playing since 2018, and I still am now. In my senior year of high school, I'd often pour myself a cherry coke and boot up my Xbox One to play the Master Chief Collection. I kind of sucked back then, but now I think I have enough experience with each multiplayer to judge them fairly. With all that said, I'll start with my least favorite Halo multiplayer, if it even counts as its own entry, Halo 2 Anniversary. I've never really liked this one. Something about it doesn't really vibe with me. It feels like a poorly balanced Halo 4, and it feels nothing like classic Halo 2. It doesn't even look like Halo 2. It looks like Halo 4. Whenever I play MCC with my friends, we avoid this game like the plague. I really don't have anything else to say about this game. It just feels soulless compared to the other games. On to my next pick, Halo Infinite. I haven't played Infinite that much recently, so my reasons for ranking it so low may be invalid. Let's talk positives. The Heatwave and Cinder Shot are the best weapons 343 has ever given us. Forge is the best it's ever been here as well. I see a lot of great maps, new and old, in the map browser. There's even a Waffle House map my friends and I have played on. On the negative side, though, some guns are a bit too easy to use, particularly the assault rifle. Halo 4 and 5 also had useful ARs, but their ARs were much more balanced in those games, so that harder to use weapons could hold their own against an AR. The battle rifle is also too easy to use, given that it has resetting upward recoil and it's functionally hit scan. The Commando, Sidekick, and even the Sniper Rifle all have Bloom, which I hate. It's not quite as bad as it is in Reach, but it's still there and annoying. The gunplay here doesn't really sit right with me, and if I don't enjoy the gunplay, I'm gonna have a hard time enjoying the game. Speaking of lacking enjoyment, up next is Halo 5. Now, I understand why people like Halo 5's multiplayer. The weapons are well balanced, and the movement makes for great competitive plays. Unfortunately, I don't like advanced movement. I can deal with sprint despite it changing everything, but thrust, ground pound, Spartan charge, hover, and all the other abilities just don't appeal to me. Not to mention that the aiming in Halo 5 is just so unintuitive. Halo 5 is a skillful game, and I respect that. It's just not skillful in the same way the original trilogy is. In Halos 1 to 3, the skill comes from the sandbox. There is skill in the movement too, like strafing, crouch jumping, and strong sighting, but most skill expression comes from the sandbox. In Halo 5, most skill expression comes from the movement. Thanks to Clamber, crouch jumping is no longer necessary either. This type of gameplay isn't as appealing to me. I will say though, despite the over-reliance on bullet magnetism, the weapons in Halo 5 are all fun to use, even if a lot of them are redundant. The AR is actually useful without being overpowered, and the Magnum is one of my favorite utility weapons in the series. Anyway, those are the three multiplayers I don't like. Everything after this, I enjoy quite a bit. On to Halo 4. Halo 4's multiplayer is interesting to me. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, but it is flawed to be sure. On the bright side, Halo 4's non-power weapons are actually effective, except for the suppressor, that thing is garbage. In Halo 4, if I have an assault rifle, I actually have a fighting chance against a player with a precision weapon. Funnily enough, this game is pretty fun with even starts. That said, copying Call of Duty was not the right move. I think Halo 4 is a fun game, but this is not what Halo players were hoping for. They wanted more Halo, not Halo of Duty. I think if Halo 4 weren't an actual Halo game and instead was its own IP, it would have been received much better. I actually think Halo 4's multiplayer is alright. It's just not good as a Halo game. Loadouts make the game unpredictable, which is a stark contrast to classic Halo gameplay. I also don't like how weak the vehicles are. It feels like they're made of paper mache with how easy they are to destroy. The maps were pretty mediocre in 4, to be honest. I only remember the names of Haven, Adrift, Exile, Skyline, and Ragnarok. Weapons on the map being random makes matches feel chaotic, and not in a good way. Another problem is how ordnance drops work here. You don't even have to get a killing spree like you do with kill streaks in Call of Duty. You're basically guaranteed at least one ordnance drop every match unless you're standing still with your thumb up your ass. I still have fun with Halo 4, but it should have stayed true to Halo's formula. Speaking of breaking Halo's formula, up next is Reach. It seems like the fanbase really came around to this game, to the point where it's the second most popular game on MCC, just behind Halo 3. And to be fair, this game has a lot going for it. It's super polished, there's the credit system and amazing customization. The art style is gorgeous, and it has a ton of variety in terms of game modes. Invasion is also decent. Unfortunately, Bungie made some pretty stupid gameplay decisions. Let's start with Bloom. Bloom is the bane of my existence. If you want people to stop spamming your gun, give it a steady fire rate instead. Bloom just adds unnecessary RNG into the game. Even if you're pacing your shots, your opponent who's spamming his DMR could get lucky and have all of his shots land. Plus, it's just annoying to have my crosshair on my enemy and have my shot miss. The needle rifle, pistol, and DMR all felt awful, and the DMR is the go-to gun, so that affects everything. Reach also brought us the worst AR in the series. It has the same fire rate as 3's, but the damage has been nerfed. And let's not forget about armor abilities either. In previous games, everyone had the same weapons and movement, meaning gunfights were predictable and easy to understand. Thanks to armor abilities and loadouts, you can sprint away from a gunfight, turn invisible, jetpack to higher ground, or worst of all, activate armor lock, making gunfights feel random and hard to predict. The funny thing is, without Bloom or armor abilities, this game is actually really fun. It feels like a proper Halo game. The maps are decent, but having every map at launch be an area from the campaign, save for Forge World, is ridiculous. Having a few maps like this is fine, but not the entire selection. Forge World gave us great custom games, but I hated how gray everything was. Still, custom games were fun as hell, which is why Reach is higher than 4 on this list. Up next is Halo 2. Halo 3 may have been Halo at its peak, but Halo 2 is what really made Halo a household name. I would argue that Halo 2 is the most influential game in the series. Think about it. Halo 2 set so many precedents, like online play, melee lunge, the battle rifle, dynamic weapon spawns, radar, 4v4 play, and slower time to kill. I'd argue a few of these changes are for the worse, namely radar and melee lunge, but this game was very popular when it came out. The map selection in Halo 2 is phenomenal, easily the best in the series. Midship, Lockout, Ivory Tower, Sanctuary, Turf, Containment, Terminal, and many others are instant classics. Midship is my personal favorite because of its simple yet versatile design. Halo 2 also is my favorite sounding battle rifle in the series. It's so crisp. Halo 2 isn't without its flaws though. The battle rifle feels very oppressive to fight against. I don't know if it's because its hit scan or if its aim assist is whacked out, probably a combination of the two. But it gets even worse when you factor in button combos like double shotting. Speaking of button combos, I'm not a fan of them. Sure, they add depth to the gameplay, but I'd rather the depth come from using the sandbox in creative ways than practicing muscle memory. The plasma pistol, sword, and BR are overpowered, but at the same time they're so fun to use because of it, especially the sword. I also love Halo 2's SWAT. Headshots in this game were so satisfying, especially when a Spartan ragdoll does a backflip. Moving on. Combat Evolved, my beloved. Halo 1 is my favorite game in the series, mainly because of its campaign, but the multiplayer kicks ass too. CE arguably has the best competitive gameplay in the series. There are so many mechanics in CE that make it stand out from the other Halo games. And honestly, I think the other games would have been better with said mechanics. In other Halo games, weapons and power-ups will respawn depending on when you picked them up or when you dropped them. In CE, weapons and power-ups respawn at a set time regardless of when you pick them up. For example, if you pick up a shotgun 29 seconds into the match, another shotgun will spawn in at that same spot 1 second later because the shotgun respawns every 30 seconds. I love this because it's predictable, it discourages camping, it keeps the game moving at a fast pace, and it gives the player incentive to travel to certain locations across the map more than once. Another aspect I love about CE is the player's ability to launch weapons to themselves using grenades. You can even nade power-ups off of platforms. Not only does this give grenades more versatility, but it also makes retrieving these items much more interesting. Nading rockets to myself in Chill Out is so satisfying, and that's just one example. The melee system is much better in CE than in future Halos. First of all, there's no lunge, meaning melee fights don't devolve into magnetic boxing matches. Because of this, there's more room for error in melee fights. Second of all, certain weapons have more desirable melee attributes than others. For example, the assault rifle's melee is faster and has a longer range, while the pistol's melee is slower and has shorter range. This gives the assault rifle a bit more edge in close-range encounters. There are also other reasons this game is higher on my list, like the ability to quit camo and the lack of radar. After hearing all of my praise for this game, you may be wondering why it's not my #1 pick. Well, there are a few reasons. First, there's the time to kill, or TTK. Halo 1's TTK is much faster than the others, and I personally prefer a slower TTK. It makes traversing the map not too risky. Second, I don't like the spawn system. Yes, I know how it works, and yes, it's competitively viable in 2v2 matches. But to the average player, there's nothing fun about getting spawn killed. What's even worse is that you spawn in holding your AR instead of your pistol, so you're basically caught with your pants down if one of your teammates gives you a bad spawn. I'm not against control-based spawns, but bad spawns really hurt the flow of a match for me. The map selection is full of highs and lows. On the positive side, there are excellent maps like Prisoner, Damnation, and Battle Creek. Chill Out is my personal favorite map in the entire series, but there are also some not so well designed maps like Derelict, Chiron, Boarding Action, and Blood Gulch. Yeah, I said it, Blood Gulch is overrated. It has 2 bases and a whole lot of nothing in between. Also, a pet peeve of mine regarding CE is the lack of strong sighting. Strong sighting is when a player looks straight down while running away to avoid getting shot in the head. Halo CE doesn't have this because looking all the way down doesn't hide your head here. It's a minor thing, but I thought I'd point it out. Still, I can't help but love CE, and it's a close second to my first pick, and that pick is Halo Fireteam Raven. This is one of the best arcade games in history. I would swim through a pool of lava just to play— Nah, I'm just fucking with you. It's Halo 3. Halo 3 is my most played Halo game in the MCC by far, and that's because it's the one my friends play. Also because it's easily the most popular multiplayer in the MCC. I think it's because Halo 3 is the most accessible Halo game overall. Casual players will have a blast, and it's viable enough for competitive play. Halo 3 held the top spot on Xbox from 2007 to 2009 against several Call of Duty games. And whether you love or hate Halo 3, that's impressive. Halo 3 also has the second best map selection in the series in my opinion. Construct, Guardian, High Ground, Narrows, The Pit, and Valhalla are all fantastic maps, just to name a few. Each map has character and is distinct from one another. Halo 3 arguably has the best custom games. I really like Duck Hunt, Smear the Queer, and Griffball in particular. As a side note, Infection is better here than in Reach in my opinion, because being a zombie is actually fun. I think Halo 3 really shines in its custom games. The gunplay is also the best and most refined in the series. Giving the battle rifle slower projectiles makes it more skillful and less oppressive than the Halo 2 BR. although I don't think there should be random bullet spread. The balance is mostly great, but a few weapons are still pretty underwhelming, namely the assault rifle, the plasma rifle, and the spiker. The brute shot kicks ass though, I love that thing. Halo 3's sniper rifle is easily my favorite in the series. It takes a lot of skill to consistently land headshots with it, but very few things feel better than seeing that medal appear on screen. Speaking of medals, Halo 3 has just the right amount of them. Killionaire, Perfection, Extermination, all those medals make me feel like I'm on top of the world. This game has it all. Great maps, great custom games, great gunplay. It's just a great game. It's probably my favorite multiplayer game of all time. I think Halo 3's campaign is a bit overrated, but not its multiplayer. It deserves all the praise it gets. Well, that's my list. Do you agree with it, or should I kill myself? Let me know in the comments below. I might also rank Halo's campaigns in the future, so if you want to see that, let me know about that too. Anyway, take care!